Yo, coming to you live from World Championship in San Jose. Welcome to the Living Legends podcast.
We are here yet again to do Living Legends podcast. Welcome back. We haven't got any Bill today, so it's going to be me and Kel. So for audio listeners, I'm here with Kel. I'm the host today. But how's it going?
How's it going? We are here on a abnormal day. This is going to be published on a Friday, normally published on a Wednesday for those new listeners and viewers out there, because I'm going to call it a technical error. Let's just call it that. I had my mic muted for the entire episode, so we have a lost episode that no one will ever see or hear, where we had a great discussion about some of the stuff that we're going to talk about today, but having the episode delayed actually gave us an opportunity to talk about the new Flesh and Blood set that was announced, which is pretty exciting. So,
yeah,
exactly. Take everything with a silver lining,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's been a series of unfortunate events this week, but as a result of that, we're now going to be speaking about the heavy hitters thing in the main for this week's podcast episode. So yeah, as you can probably hear, it's me and Kel today. Bill's not here today because obviously we had to reschedule the recording because he's actually doing a lot of Spike Feeder's Magic Channel recording because he's actually going to be playing in some of the games, I believe. So I think he's doing a lot of that at the moment.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Yeah. It's always great to see Bill on the Spike Feeders. I'll be honest, I don't watch a ton of extra card game content because I make so much myself. But hey, if I see Bill on a Spike Feeders one, I'll be like, yo, I'll watch that. Yeah, I'll watch Bill play some degenerate mono black deck or whatever, which is what he has been doing. Yeah. I dig it.
Yeah, it's nice to see him enjoying himself a little bit there. But without Bill this week, but should be good. Should be a good discussion nonetheless. But this week in Fab, first of all, have we been doing anything this week in Flesh and Blood in general, apart from this, obviously this article?
Yeah, I mean, this was part of the Lost episode, but we talked a lot about Bright Lights because Bright Lights actually just came out a week ago at the time of this posting, not the recording, but Bright Lights should be about a week old, and we talked about our pulls and our thoughts on Bright Lights. I will say I did a Crack Shuffle play stream with Jim from FAB TCG Cards, and it was really, really fun. I give two thumbs up for Crack Shuffle play. I thought it was an absolute blast. We ended up playing 3 matches, and they were all ended up being mirror matches. So Teklevasen versus Teklevasen, Dash versus Dash, and Max versus Max. Which is kind of funny because we did random heroes. We just rolled dice to see who we got. So the fact that they're all mirrors was pretty.
Got the same each time. It
was pretty funny. Yeah. If you want to see that, I definitely recommend going watching it. It was just a good time. The way we also did it is we went blind, so we didn't look at our packs at all, except just to quickly flip through to take out the equipment, because common equipment can appear in the non-token slots. And then we house ruled it that if you pulled a legendary, you could play with it. I'm not going to tell you if we did. You'll have to go watch and see. But it was it was a lot of fun. And then just in terms of Bright Lights pack opening, I think a lot of folks are noticing this now, but we had some, or at least I had some interesting, collation things. There were times where I pulled 5+ of the same Majestic, and then I have also 1 of another or 0 of another. So it's just I feel these sort of pull rates are not indicative of Bright Lights, but more just indicative of Flesh and Blood these days, because it felt like that with Dusk Till Dawn as well, where I pulled 1 Slithering Shadowpede and then 8 of another card.
8 Morlock Hells.
Yeah, right. And I also noticed that even though the expansion slot, they say it's 1 in 16 packs, it doesn't really feel like that. I've opened up about 3 cases, and every single box has on average two expansion slot cards. So it feels a lot more common than they had said. So it's interesting to see what the actual pull rates are compared to what is posted. I'm not sure, what the disconnect is there, but But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've only opened one box so far, because I think this is one of the things that obviously we're going to get Brian Gottlieb on the next episode of Living Legends podcast, I believe. And I think this is a question that a lot of people are asking, and a lot of people are wondering is about the one class set. You know, is it going to be? Are we going to see more of that going forward? You know, has Brian reviewed it, the feedback on the internet, and all this? You probably look at a lot of it, right, and probably look at a lot of the concerns and stuff, because it is one of those things where there's pros and cons. The pros are, if you're not into mechanologist, or if you're not into that sort of class, then you can just be like, oh, okay, I'm not gonna buy anything of this set, and I can just take a set off and just save up for the next one or whatever. But then, the cons of it are: do you potentially lose sales or alienate players, or potentially lose players if their hero isn't getting supported between this set and the next one? For instance, there could be a lull, like 2 or 3 sets, where your favorite hero, Azalea or whatever, is not getting represented, and you're just like, oh, okay, these sets are a little bit dead for me.
Flesh and Blood has kind of always been like that outside of supplementary sets.
True.
But this is like the extreme, right? It's like cutting more people off than ever. But it feels like they foresaw this, and they're like, oh, let's throw in the expansion slot just to throw a bone to some people. But at the same time, that also just means for smart people who aren't just going to go out and buy crap loads of boxes like me, they can just be like, hey, I'll just buy the singles that I need. You know, I'm going to draw my player. I just buy 3 of the book and I'm good to go, right? I don't need to buy any packs.
But that's another thing as well. It's like, as the hype dies down, is that just not what everyone's going to do? Everyone's going to maybe, like going forward, less people are going to buy cases and buy boxes and just buy the singles they want for the heroes they need. I know on the last Lost episode, Bill said that he does generally collect play sets of cards, so I'm sure you probably do as well. I don't, because I only play one hero at the moment, at least. I have been liking the look of Dash IO, because it's similar to Azalea, because you manipulate the top card of your deck and you can play it. It
looks fun.
So who knows? I might look into it a little bit more, but yeah, it's definitely a question that I want to put forward to Brian, and the concerns, and whether he's read the concerns and, you know, all that sort of stuff about it. But the expansion slots as well, is that going to supplement the expansion slot like entirely going forward? Do you think we're still going to see supplementary sets, or is that just going to be it now? We're just going to get supplementary cards in that slot going forward, rather than having those sets that are dedicated to a weird multi-hero thing?
There's 2 things I want to mention. So you talked about like buying sets and perhaps people changing their buying habits. And I know mine very much likely will change, because before I used to be able to spend, and I think this all started with, I want to say it could have been Outsiders. It could have been Dynasty, but at some point, I used to be able to buy like 5-ish cases and get a full playset of every non-legendary, and sometimes all the legendaries as well. And at some point, they changed their pull rates of the Majestics, and I think it was around Outsiders. And they also just added way, a lot more Majestics to the sets as well. It just made it like buying boxes to get a full playset is now very like not smart. Before it wasn't smart either way, but I double dipped and I was like, okay, I'll use the extra boxes for content, and you know, I could justify it as a content creator. But now I spent over $1,000 on bright lights, and like I'm not even close to a full play set. There's like many one of Majestics that I still have, and even if I open up my last case, there's no way that I could get everything else that I need, especially when you get like maybe like 5 to 7 Majestics per box, and I need like 30 or 40 or even more than that, you know, to get my full play set. So it's like, for me, I will likely transition from buying like, 4, 5, 6 cases a set to maybe buying a couple, using those as content, using those for supporters on Patreon and various other things, and then just buying the singles. So yeah, I think my personal buying habits for Flesh and Blood are going to be changing quite a bit. And it's a stark contrast. And one of the things that made me really realize this was opening up Shadowverse Evolve, which just had a new set that came out too. Their set 2, Reign of Bahamut, came out. And if you buy a full case of Shadowverse Evolve, mind you, a case of Shadowverse Evolve is around like $900, right? A case for that game is like, depending on the set 1 was 20 boxes, right? So you 20 boxes in a case. So it's a very large case. But if you bought a case for that, you were guaranteed to get a full play set plus more of every card in the set, including the legendaries and that kind of stuff. And then you're also guaranteed certain chase hits, like you'd get like 3 ultra rares and 2 special leader cards. You're not guaranteed to get specific ones, but you're guaranteed to get at least that. So you can know like, hey, I can sell these extra cards to recoup a little bit of the money and then still have a full play set. But for Flesh and Blood, you just can't do that now. So I likely will be changing it. So I just wanted to mention that. And then your other question about like the expansion slot, I think they're going to do both, to be completely honest. I think they're going to have expansion slots in every foreseeable draft set. And they said they want to do a lot of draft sets. But Brian also said that they're not exclusively doing draft sets. They can do an expansion set if they feel that it is necessary or if it works or, if they have a good idea for it. So I feel like it's mostly going to be expansion slot stuff. And then we'll occasionally see a new expansion set every now and then, but probably not super often. I'm like, we already know, and we'll talk about this. This is kind of bearing the lead a little bit. We know the Heavy Hitters is not an expansion set. We know it is a draftable set based on some of the stuff that they said in the reveal. So
well, I think the way Brian's like trying to restructure everything is brilliant, because obviously the expansion slot allows you to combat and put in weird little cards as and when you feel like they need to be released. Like the assassin card Already Dead has already appeared in an Arachne list that made top 8 recently. So that's obviously very, very good. What they can do as well, if the meta is stale, they can then sort of plan it to do a massive shake-up and then do like a big supplementary set where loads of people get loads of different things, and maybe there's a new OP hero that comes out of nowhere and all this. I think it is, and as Brian said in our last podcast, he said he's expect anything and anything, basically. There is no structure anymore. So
I will say though, and I'll probably go over this in a video exclusive on my channel, but I totally called this Heavy Hitter set. I didn't call the name, but I basically called everything else about it. I did one of my tinfoil hat conspiracy theory videos. It was the last one that I did. That's talking about is Flesh and Blood going to have a battle royale set? And I guess the name of the set was going to be called Deathmatch, but Heavy Hitters is the Deathmatch set. It says Deathmatch in the thing. I called it. I knew it. Tinfoil hat was right.
It was right, and obviously we'll get to that because that's going to be a big bit of news that we speak about today. Because there's going to be a lot to speak about that's also combined with that set release as well. But just going on the thread of Bright Lights quickly. It's still mechanologist only set. Obviously, we've seen Outsiders, for instance, and the sort of EV estimated value of cards that you get in these sets, right? When you spoke to Jim, FAB TCG Cards Jim, not Bill's brother Jim,
right? Yeah.
Did he mention that Outsiders was good for value because of the generics that were in there, like Warmongers and Warmongers was in there, wasn't it?
No. Warmongers was Dust Gone. Yeah. Premeditate was the big one in Outsiders. There's a lot of chase generics, and in this set there's no generics whatsoever. So is there many chase cards in this set? I don't think there is really, apart from like the Marvel Mecro Daddy. But there's like the legendaries for the classes that you care about that are in the expansion slot. So like Tunic, for example, is kind of a chase card for the set. It's not exclusive to the set, but I mean, if you open up packs and you pull a Tunic, that's like $80. That's not nothing, right? And then same for some of the other legendaries, like Shriek Razors is going to see play. I think it is very, very good. And
that was in the Arachne list as well. Yeah.
But then like Jim did tell me, just kind of offhanded, with that none of the super high rarity stuff has sold for him yet, which is like scary for him because normally they have at this point. So no
Bright lights.
For bright lights, yeah. So no fables, no marvels, none of that kind of stuff is sold for him, which is, you know, probably largely indicative of the fact that it is all mechanologist, and you know, perhaps the marvels just aren't exciting enough because let's be honest, the marvels for this set are pretty like unexciting. They just are cold foil and have like a slightly different border, right? They don't have like any crazy fancy treatment like the angels or the dragons or the codices. They're just kind of like, they look like normal cold foils.
Yeah, that's pretty much about it.
Yeah, and like I think the fabled is really cool, but like once again, it's like literally only for mechanologists, and I don't think it's like a slam dunk autoplay in all mechanologist decks either. And it doesn't, I'll be completely honest, and maybe this is just because I'm not a mechanologist main. I do really like mech, by the way, but like, yeah, I don't feel like the need to go buy one, right? Like, but like,
no,
for me, and this is because I obviously really love both of the classes, like Plague Hive, for example. I like, if I didn't pull a Plague Hive, I would have 1,000,000% bought a Plague Hive. In fact, I did. I actually pulled 2 rainbow foil Plague Hives, but I wanted a cold foil, so I bought one from Jim. And then I got one of my rainbow foils, sold one of them, kept the other rainbow foil, and I got the rainbow foil one signed by Mark Poole. So it's like, I guess it all depends on like what matters to you as a Flesh and Blood player, but it does, the set does feel very, well, it doesn't feel, it is, it's just very narrow, right? It's just all mech outside of like the couple expansion slot cards.
It'll be interesting to see like what happens from this weekend though. So I think there's 2 callings going on. There's the Taipei one, and then there's another one after that. I think Melt. No, is it Melt? No, that's basically I think there's a couple of callings left where Lexi is still available to be played. So as soon as
is it the Texas one?
Oh, Dallas. That's right. Yeah. Dallas, Fort Worth. Yeah, that's the one. So yeah, there's still a couple of tournaments where Lexi is still playable, and she is clearly still the best one to play, because obviously the results that we had recently from the Battle Hardens was Lexi all over the place, basically. So when she goes, and when and if we start seeing results for Teklo Vossen or Dash or Max, that's when the card prices will go up, wouldn't it? If they start performing, basically.
I do want to mention one thing that I find very, very funny, based on kind of what you said, is I've noticed among other like Flesh and Blood content creators, the content creators, the type of people who focus on like the hyper competitive stuff and appeal to the people who want to win, right? The people who watch the videos and it's like, give me your secret tech so I can crush all the scrubs at my armory or whatever. the content creators who appeal to that. There's 2 camps, right? There's 2 camps. There's the I'll call it like the what's one of the camps? It's like the pro, like the, I guess they're all kind of pro players, but there's like the camp where they're like, all the new heroes are mid. They're all like C or D tier. None of them are good. We'll have to wait and see, but they're all bad. And then there's the other tier, which is the we make best tier, where every single hero is absolutely busted. They're completely broke. Next S tier hero will dunk your armory no matter what. Here's 3 games of me crushing people on Talishar. Like, so I think it's funny, like seeing these camps, and I'm not giving judgment either way. But yeah, there's like the ones where everyone's like putting all the tier lists and they're like, all the new heroes suck. And then there's like the people who are like, oh, they're so busted and, you know, absolutely insane. Whereas the
damage turn and all this,
the reality is probably somewhere in between, right? They're like probably just like, you know, fine. There might be like one breakout hero. Who knows? There might be some super secret tech where the heroes are actually really good, but we'll see. Their design feels a little bit more tempered as of late, and it doesn't feel like we're getting another Tales of Aria style set where all the heroes are actually very good.
Actually broken, yeah, absolutely. Which is nice though. It's nice to see that even like Prism and Vincent aren't really doing much. at the moment, at least, while these Tales of Aria heroes are still running rampant and stuff. So it'd be interesting when all those go, how it looks then.
I'm going to lump Iyslander in there too, by the way. Even though Iyslander technically isn't from Tales of Aria, she's technically from Everfest. You can say Uprising, but she was actually, it came out at Everfest, which is the set after Tales of Aria. Yeah. But I lump her there because she's also an elemental hero, and she has the best element anyway, ice. So
ice. Yeah.
Yeah, I lump Iyslander in there, but she's also pretty close to hitting Living Legend. So I feel that,
which is funny because I saw a tweet from Pleasant Kenobi saying, I'm playing a bit of Iyslander. I'm not sure whether you saw it.
No,
it's just
I didn't see it. Yeah.
Because he was when back in Lille, he was like, I really want to play Prism. She's just about to Living Legend, and it's the same now. He's like, it's going to play Iyslander. She's just about to Living Legend, Vince. For fuck's sake.
Who knows? Maybe the Bright Lights heroes are so busted that there's no way the Icelander's gonna win any games. I don't think that's true.
Well, who knows? We can get loads of hyperdrivers out in play. So as soon as you boost, you get a load of resources.
Yeah, you gotta play the card first. You still have to get past the ice barrier.
Yeah.
And I will say I do think, like, going into the season, I think, heroes like Iyslander and Dromai, Bravo, maybe some of the ninjas, these are going to be the good heroes. Azalea I think is also still up there, and especially with Bullseye back, I think Azalea will be very, very good. So I think those are the heroes that are probably going to be quite good. Maybe Dash, but yeah.
Yeah, Dash looks pretty fun. But yeah, speaking of Azalea, actually, Brody Spurlock was undefeated until he got to the top 8 and then folded to an Icelander.
Lost immediately to Icelander. Yeah.
Yeah.
Undefeated into top 8, lost to Icelander.
And lost.
First round. Yeah.
But interesting to see that Memorial Grounds slipping back in, though, because that's a card that a lot of old school Azalea players used to use to get the arrow back on top and swap it in and give it dominate. And it just basically allows you to copy any arrow that you've already played or blocked with. So it is a nice one, but just doesn't block.
I think it's really good for just locking someone out if they're reliant on go again and stuff. So like getting a red in the ledger, like dominate against like a Dromai player, for example, and doing like red in the ledger, you only can take one action. And then next turn, get it back, dominate, red in the ledger, you only take one action. It's like, I don't care how many dragons you have if you could only do one thing.
Yeah.
So,
and that's the only way to win against Dromai. Is one of the hardest ones for Azalea, bless her. But if you can get that loop going, it's devastating to most heroes, really.
I know how you feel. I'm an Uzuri player, and so Dromai is also very, very difficult. Though Uzuri doesn't really care about red in the ledger all that much because
not at all.
Because reactions are not actions. Haha.
No, exactly. Yeah, you can just attack me with one thing, and then you can just reaction it with the ability, swap in a really high value attack, and even still do like a cut to the chase or a shred over the top. So it's not very nice, really.
Or new Streak Razors.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Anyway,
but anyway, what one more thing which was on the list that we previously lost is relating to Bright Lights again in future sets before we get into the heavy hitting, no pun intended, news.
It's not a pun, it's literally the name of the set.
It is literally
it's just the name. Yeah.
It's just the name of the set. Crack Shuffle Play. Obviously you had a great experience with it playing with Jim, right?
Good. Yeah.
Yeah, it was good fun. Do you think, because obviously I mentioned this on one of my recent Go Again Gaming videos, do you think it could be a viable thing to include Crack Shuffle Play in each set? Because they've marketed it as a way to just play with booster packs out of the box. So you can just Crack Shuffle Play and play with a friend. But you could essentially do that anyway with Shapeshifter.
Yeah.
So could they just market it in the future as, you can Crack Shuffle Play, but rebrand it as Shapeshifter, so you don't always have to have a set that's all dedicated to one hero? Because if you were to Crack Shuffle Play Welcome to Wraith, it just wouldn't work, would it?
Yeah. So like outside of Shapeshifter, I don't think they're gonna do it very much.
Work.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's just it wouldn't work. But second of all, like it would mean that you need more single class sets, which I don't think is what we're going to see very much of at all. Bright Lights feels like a correction. I don't think heavy hitters, as we'll get into this, as much as a lot of people think, it's not going to be an all brute set. I'm sorry, everyone. I very much don't think it's going to be an all brute set. Could be. I could be wrong. But I really don't think so. So like outside of something like a weird, Outsiders 2, where all the cards are like split classes, right? Where you do have class cards, but they're like Ranger Assassin cards, Assassin Ninja cards, or whatever like that. Whatever. Outside of something like that, I don't think they're going to do it again. I also don't think they're going to do the shapeshifter thing. They could, and I think people could house rule it for sure. But it doesn't feel like, it feels mechanically messy, right? Because I don't know. It just feels like really messy, especially for like a new player experience. Where if the set is already made for limited, you can just buy 3 more packs and do sealed, right? And do like a regular 6-pack sealed. I think it's something that they will probably do in the future, but I think it'll be like, sparingly. To me, I was thinking about this actually after we recorded the Lost episode, but I was like, Crack Shuffle Play feels, I don't want to say it feels like an afterthought, but it feels like something that they realized while making Bright Lights. And I'm going to ask Brian Gottlieb about this, but we'll see if my guess is true. But it feels like they were testing Bright Lights and they were like, wait a minute. Like they're probably testing sealed. And they're like, wait a minute. You just like do 3 together and don't have to take anything out and just play it like that. And they're probably, oh yeah, that is fun. Like, let's just make it a thing. Like, that's what it feels like to me. It doesn't feel like they specifically made the set with that in mind. It feels like something that they realized after the fact, while they were making the set.
It's like a mini game for the set, isn't it? It's like something you can do unique to that set because you just smash these decks together because it's all one class and you play. So maybe in the next set, there's another mini game which is crack. Whatever. Maybe there's another thing you can do which is unique to that set, perhaps. So like a nice little mini game in there.
I mean, like, I can also foresee a way, if they're able to do it, being like, it's Crack Shuffle Play, but with 4 packs, and then you just go through your packs and take out all of one class. So maybe it's a three class set, and they're like 2 of the classes meld together, or maybe it's even just a 2 class set, and they're like, to do the Crack Shuffle Play, you just look at your packs and take out all of your ninja cards, and then you have a warrior deck, or take out all of your warrior cards and you have a ninja deck, and then do that. I could see some weird variations that they could do. They have a lot of options, and they can mess around. What I don't want to see is an all generic set. I think that is a bad idea.
It's coming. It is.
I think we need less generics in Flesh and Blood. We need or
generic set.
Or we need generics that are really, really, really specific. Like we need less E-Strikes
or Silver Bullet set
and Command and Conquers, and we need more stuff like, Azz is gonna hate me for saying this, we need more stuff kind of like Warmongers. But not Warmongers, but like cards like that, right? That like
Silver Bullet cards. More Silver Bullet cards.
Because we talked about this, we keep talking about Brian Gottlieb. We talked about this when he was on the podcast. Like Warmongers is really good now, but in the future, it might not be good, right? There might be a format, a metagame where it's not good and not played, and I think we need more cards like that. But then again, how do you make an entire set of all of those cards? You still need your Scarfer Scars and stuff. And I think we need to see less Scarfer Scars. I don't want to see Scarfer Scar 2, because then that means every deck can run Scarfer Scar and Scarfer Scar 2, right? Like,
God, yeah.
Yeah, we don't need that. We need less of that. So
yeah, exactly. Just capping off this part of the. Well, you had another thought there, so if you want to expand on that, you can.
Small thought, very, very small thought. They do have talents, and they could use talents actually as a way to introduce stuff like that without making them generic, to still limit the card pool. So they could make like a talented set, not a generic set, where it's like, this is a draconic set. And so all the heroes in the set are draconic, and they can use all the cards, but the cards aren't, generic. So they, not everyone, in the constructed meta could use them. That could be interesting, actually.
No, that's true. Yeah, we are. Yeah, that's one thing we haven't seen for the last 2 sets is talented heroes. Because obviously, Outsiders didn't have any. Well, actually, no. Dust Till Dawn was a supplementary set. So the last two draft sets, we haven't seen it. We haven't seen it in Bright Lights. We haven't seen it in Outsiders. So yeah, when talents come back, that is a way of correcting it to a certain degree.
Unless Mech was a talent and we didn't even realize it.
Yeah. But yeah, just capping off that then. This year, I've put down as a little statement. This year, you said it actually. This year was a correction, because we had Outsiders that buffed up Rangers. Mm-hmm. We had Dust Till Dawn, which brung back the light and shadow pools for people to use.
To varying degrees of success, you know?
Exactly, yeah. And then we've had mech. We've only ever had one CC mech before, so now we got loads.
You got 4 now. So great.
Yeah. So it feels like this year has been like a buff everything and then wait for the old stuff to rotate out, and then we see where we are as a meta, as a game, basically, when all the broken stuff is gone. Get out of here, Voltaire. Get out of there. Free of a kind Voltaire. Free of a kind was never meant for you.
Oh,
it says Azalea on it. It says Azalea on the flavor text, for goodness sake.
The Ranger class has been an interesting development story. Because we talked about it, that Ranger wasn't even supposed to be in Arcane Rising initially. I think Assassin was supposed to be there.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
But,
interesting.
But yeah. Another thing this week in Flesh and Blood, which released, which was pretty cool, was the Learn to Play video.
Oh yeah. I almost forgot about that. I did play that. Did you play the? It's like an interactive thing. I wouldn't call it a game, because while it's interactive, you don't have any choices to make. You just do what it says, right?
That's right. Yeah.
So it might as well just be like a PowerPoint presentation, to be completely honest. But I did play through it, and I thought it was interesting. I do have some minor criticisms of it, but I do think it's good for like new players. I think it'll give people an idea of how to play Flesh and Blood. Not a great idea, but I think it gives them a good gist on how to play Flesh and Blood.
Yeah.
So like,
I think.
Go ahead. I'll let you go first.
I was going to say, the interactability of it, I think, is clearly outsourced to somebody else to do. And I think the original video, like the original Learn to Play video, which was done by, it's on LSS's YouTube channel, also was very, very good in the fact of explaining the game. But this one is nice in the fact that it allows you to click and drag cards to where they should be on the game table, which is nice. Yeah. It gives you that feel of putting cards in the right place. But I think it was templated off of the original one. I think the original one also had the issue of the sequencing of the playing the card and then pitching for it was one of the things. I think it's like I can't remember what it was called. If you can expound on that. So
two of my like obvious. I don't know if I'm going to call them obvious, but two of my like tangible complaints, I guess. They're not really complaints. Is the first thing is that they don't technically do this wrong, but everyone who teaches you to play Flesh and Blood, everyone who the rules or whatever tells you to present the card and then you pitch for the card, right? That's just how you typically play Flesh and Blood. In the how to play interactive thing, they pay for the card first and then they play it like you would in like any other card game, like Magic or whatever, which is weird to me. I initially thought, I was just like, hey, this is wrong. But apparently the rules have been updated or changed at some point. So it works like that. You can technically pitch and then play the card. So it technically does work. It's just not how anyone I know has ever taught anyone how to play Flesh and Blood. And then the other thing is they kept calling resources energy. And that was literally the first time. And mind you, I've been playing Flesh and Blood since Welcome to Wraith. I've literally never heard it called energy ever by anyone. Like everyone's always called it either pitch or resources. Like you have 3 pitch available, 3 floating, 3 resources, or generate a resource. I've never heard anyone called it energy. Like
Yeah, it's a weird thing to hear, isn't it?
Like, you don't crack your E-pot to get 2 energy. Like, no one said that. No one said that. You crack it to get 2 resources. Like, and it's like the same number of syllables. So it's not like resources, 3, energy. They're both 3 syllables. Like, I don't know why I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, it is strange. It's cool. The interactability of it is cool, and it's that sort of side of it's nice. But yeah, it is very, very strange.
I think it's a cool thing. I think it's a good thing. I'm very for it, very positive on it overall. Just as an established player and kind of a cantankerous grump who's set in his old ways. I'm just like, this isn't what I know. Why is this different? Like it just felt weird. And then also the voice about this is a more of a stylistic thing, but they couldn't hire a voice actor. They had to get a robot to do it. It's definitely an AI robot generated voice. It's
just let Miss Chalice do it. Just get her to do it.
There are so many people who are very talented in the world of Flesh and Blood in regards to voice acting that they could have gotten. A lot very of people. True. So getting an AI voice just felt also kind of weird. And also very this is maybe just a personal stylistic thing, but very much not in the spirit of Flesh and Blood. I don't want to say that. I don't want to say that too much. But I mean getting a robot instead of a real person doesn't really evoke the feelings of playing in the Flesh and Blood. It evokes the feelings of
maybe it was a mech from Metrix or something, an android or something. Maybe it's on flavor that way.
Maybe it was Datadoll.
Maybe it was Datadoll the whole time.
But especially after they've done these really, really awesome banger trailers for the last couple sets with the voice acting and stuff. They're so good, and then it's just now you pitch, Reckless Wing to generate 2 energy. First off, attack with your. I mean, it's just come on, man.
Yeah, and I don't think you actually can. You can't put something in the pitch zone just off the cuff. You have to use it. You have to use something to pitch, right? I mean, if someone was to do that in a game, pitch and then present the weapon, that's not an issue, right? Because your game state action is still basically the same. You've just ordered it differently, so nothing's really affecting it. But you can't. It might get people into habits where they can just think, oh yeah, I'll just pitch this card for no reason, and then not attack, and then use those resources for something else.
Yep, you cannot pitch for no reason. Yep, that's just kind of a big part of Flesh and Blood.
And that's exactly what the interactive video did, and the original video is it showed a graphic of them pitching the card first, and then the sword goes over to the combat chain. What should happen is the sword should go to the combat chain, and then it should be in reverse, shouldn't it? Really, that's the nitpick of the whole thing.
Yes. I mean that is how everyone is taught to play Flesh and Blood, at least up to this point. I did see that someone on Twitter, might have been Joe Trick, posted.
That's right,
posted from the comprehensive rules that you technically can pitch first and then play the thing. It's it's not an illegal action to do in the game,
no.
But it still struck me as weird. Just felt kind of weird.
But obviously that's because we've been here I've been here for 2 years. You've been here for 3 or 4
years,
the whole time.
And it does
another thing.
Like you said, it does feel like they outsourced it to someone else. It doesn't feel like the dev team made it. It feels like they hired someone else to make it and also do all the writing and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But it is what it is. It's a cool little thing, a nice little interactive way of showing you where to put cards and all this, but just could have been sequenced a little bit better. But the funny thing is as well, when we had Joshua Scott on, he said that was coming, didn't he?
They've been working on it for a while.
It was coming. Yeah. So, but yeah. So the next thing is you've touched on it in a video recently, and that's the 4-year anniversary.
Yep.
Obviously, Flesh and Blood is 4 years old now, and I just wanted to bring up this little segment here because James White on Twitter retweeted Right Time Gaming's post, our good friend Ian from Right Time Gaming. And there's a picture of him playing the first ever public FAB draft at Vagabonds Auckland in 2019. Happy fourth birthday. And then James retweeted that, saying, thanks for your support from day one and long before Ian. So that's just crazy just to see back in 2019. What was I doing in 2019? I was probably playing Commander, to be honest. I didn't even know what Flesh and Blood was 4 years ago, which is crazy. Because I only got in just before Monarch released, so I've only been in since then. And even when I started, it was like I can't figure this out. I'm going to go and look at Welcome to Wraith and Arcane Rising and Crucible of War before I start learning about bloody Soul and Soul Shackles and all of this. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey for Flesh and Blood, that's for sure. But happy birthday! And you said it well in your video about everything that Flesh and Blood means to us and everything. So don't want to sort of beat that trumpet again, because we did a massive sort of speech in the last in the last podcast.
I mentioned it in my video. I mentioned the lost episode. I mentioned it, like all three of us went around. We talked about what Flesh and Blood like means to us, and just kind of like reminisced, shared some things. It's actually interesting. I got maybe we'll do this for a future episode too. Not now. I'd like to do this when Bill's here, but go around the table, maybe on a really, really slow news week, and just talk about like Flesh and Blood memories or something like that. Because someone actually DM'd me and they like said that would be a really cool episode.
It's a good idea.
Just have like a guest on, or they didn't mention specifically the Living Legends, but I think it would work best on Living Legends, where we just talk about
just round table, good time memories. Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe we'll get like Ian or someone else to come on and talk about it. But
we've definitely shared some good memories of Ian, like Worlds and stuff, the first Worlds and that. So
maybe more to come. We have more exciting things to talk about that kind of coincided with the heavy hitters news.
Exactly.
We're kind of blue ballsing everyone about because we haven't talked about it yet, like 40 minutes in. But I will say one more thing about for the 4th anniversary. I do think Flesh and Blood is a really remarkable game. I'm not gonna give a big speech here. I already did that for 15 minutes in my video. The video was actually much longer than that. It was actually hard for me to talk about all in one go. I got a little emotional at certain points, but
definitely.
Flesh and Blood is the little game that could, and not only that, I think it's a game that actually helped pave the way for a lot of other card games. I truly believe that Flesh and Blood is the game that kind of kicked off like the TCG renaissance, like this resurgence of interest, in a lot of people in the card gaming space, not just the big three, but a bunch of other card games as well. And you have your Flesh and Bloods. Now you have like your Lorcanas and everything else. So I think a lot of it as well is hero centric, right? A lot of the games that are popping off right now, or quite popular right now, are based around a hero mechanic where you choose an avatar or whatever to play with to begin with, and that's how your deck construction works. So it's obviously caught on like wildfire, and people want that identity to relate to straight away, don't they? Normally, so it's something that I think is obviously like smart. And like before I did content about Flesh and Blood, I did content about a game called Force of Will, and Force of Will was also like basically like a hero. They were called rulers, but they were hero centric as well. And I think games like that appeal to a lot of people for a lot of different reasons. And I think almost every single game I play right now has that, like Flesh and Blood, Grand Archive, Shadowverse Evolve. You still have your leader in that game. Even games like Alpha Clash, Sorcery, you have your avatar. Magic, I really only play Commander, so you have your Commander.
Exactly.
So it's But so
anyway,
it's
a winning formula, isn't it?
And I do want to give, I think this is very important to note, and I did a whole spiel about this in my video, but I do want to mention it here too, because I think it is so important that I mention it twice. I just wanted to give a shout out to and thank everyone at LSS who works on Flesh and Blood and who makes the game what it is. And I want to specifically mention folks who aren't James White. Obviously a huge shout out to James White, but I feel that James gets a lot of attention already. He's kind of like the face and the voice of Flesh and Blood. And so I want to just acknowledge all of the other people who make the game possible. People like obviously like Brian Gottlieb, but everyone from like MJ who does the card borders, Sam Yang who works in the art department, Robbie Wen who is, I think, incredibly important, who doesn't get any like recognition or limelight at all outside of perhaps me just kind of gassing him up a bit. But he's like,
yeah.
If you look at the boxes, it says directed by Robbie Wen, created by James White. So Robbie Wen is like a huge part of Flesh and Blood, and he does not get the credit that he deserves. He is like also like the head of like the creative department. And so like everyone else too, Alan Hale, just like everyone who works at Flesh and Blood, just yeah. Know that if you're listening to this, whoever you are, even if like you're an artist, so shout out to all the artists too, like Azwardi and Lindner, like just you're all appreciated, and couldn't do it all without you. So
yeah, exactly. And thanks for believing in all of the content creators as well. And that's going to be a big payoff potentially for a lot of the content creators with heavy hitters and the world premiere for that, because that's going to be, they're sort of giving back to us in a certain way, which we'll go into in a moment. I don't know how this is going to materialize. And I did a video today about trying not to sort of get too taken aback by FOMO and stuff if you can't get there and all this, because New Zealand is quite far away for a lot of people.
See, New Zealand is like me traveling to Spain, but for you. For me, it's like not bad at all. Like, I mean, it's still like 10-hour flight or whatever, but it's not like a 20-hour flight. Like New Zealand for me is like, I think the way it goes, because since I'm Portland, I think we go to Hawaii and then either layover in Japan or Australia and then go to New Zealand. So like for me, it's not too bad.
No, that's pretty good because you're on the west side of the US, so you're going further west to get there. You stop in Hawaii and then carry on, so that's not too bad at all. No.
Yep. But
for the UK lot, it's like probably the furthest journey you can possibly imagine. Basically, it's like it's like I figured it out, and it's like if I left on Monday, I would get there on Wednesday. It's just like, what the hell?
Yeah, man.
Oh my god. With like a 7-hour stopover in like Shanghai or something, which would be funny to do.
Cool.
But
that seems cool, to be honest.
Yeah, but we'll see if that materializes. But yeah, heavy hitters. This is the massive news out of Legend Story Studios. Was it yesterday? I think so.
Yeah. It was actually, so I wasn't sure if I was going to tell this anecdote. I already mentioned Robbie Wen, so I do want to shout him out again. He did message me yesterday, and he was like, he watched my video about what Flesh and Blood, how it changed my life, and he just was like, hey, I loved your video, and then he was like, by the way, we have some exciting news dropping very soon, and so he kind of like didn't tell me anything about it, but told me that they had some news dropping, and lo and behold, here we have the Heavy Hitters World Premiere in Queenstown, which there's a little bit to unpack here, right? I'll let you do the honors as.
Yeah. So this was released yesterday. So it's got a big, massive logo with the Heavy Hitters logo, and first of all, it's got this big, massive picture. The viewers see it? Can they? The visual people can see the Heavy Hitters logo.
Yes, the background is the Coliseum, and the logo is just kind of right down between Az and I here.
Yeah. So what sticks out to me first of all is from this art and the logo and stuff is these like boned horns that are sort of going round the logo. Because obviously, if you look at the big art centerpiece as well, that's like the entrance to the Colosseum. Is these like big bone pieces that they walk through to get into the gladiatorial arena? Is what it looks like.
Yeah.
And we've actually seen that Already going off on a massive tangent already, but we've already seen that sort of bone structure on another card. Do you know what that card is that we've seen it on?
So I'm not sure what you're alluding to, but I made a whole I mentioned this at the beginning. I made a whole conspiracy theory video about how the next set is going to be called Deathmatch, and it is going to be a gladiatorial arena. And we saw it on 2 cards. They mentioned the words deathmatch, and also they were in the Coliseum on 2 cards. It was on Numbskull, and then from Bright Lights. And then it was on the expansion slot card. Hold on, I have a copy of it over here. From
we're getting warmer. We're getting warmer.
Or it was on Dust. It was on Dust Till Dawn, Numbskull, and then on this card from Bright Lights. Let's see, Smashing Performance. Yeah, so
that's correct.
Smashing Performance, yeah. And they mention Deathmatch by name on both cards, and so that my theory was that the next set was going to be called Deathmatch and take place in the arena. Turns out the name is actually called Heavy Hitters, but I was still right. It is still taking place at the Deathmatch, because in this reveal they literally say, you know, gold and glory is yours for the taking if you survive the death match. So yes, I called it deathmatch set. Yes,
absolutely, yeah, and that's the. I think it's. I don't know. I think it might be as hype as it is. I still think your idea of having the Colosseum as a supplementary set could have been better, though. You know, like a whole sort of like all the heroes coming together and seeing everybody in the pit fighting each other for whatever reason, if they're there for the money or whatever. And then that gives you the opportunity to expand all classes again because they're all there. The events like this, carnivals, celebrations for the sort of coronation of the emperor, and then a Colosseum, you know, these are all sort of crowd gathering things. So it kind of makes sense for it to be somewhere where all of the heroes might be there, you know?
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, they still might do like a Everfest follow-up, you know, like they'll have heavy hitters, and then maybe they do an expansion set follow-up, kind of like how they did Everfest. I mean, we don't know. But we do know as led on, that this is going to be a draftable set. We don't have an official like product release, but based on what they said in the announcement, there's going to be a calling in Queenstown and something called the Celebrational that we'll talk about separately. But they did say there is going to be heavy hitters. Is that weird? Heavy hitters sealed deck showdown. So yes, it will be sealed. They will have heavy hitters sealed, which means heavy hitters will be a limited draftable set. So it is not a supplemental set. It will be a draftable set. So we know that for sure. One of them is going to be a team sealed battle hardened, which Ian already messaged, and he was like, hey boys, who's coming to Queenstown? Who wants to be on my team? And I was like, if I'm going, I'm playing with you, man. Like 100%. So.
Oh God, yeah.
I love team events, and I love limited too. So this is like perfect. This is perfect.
Oh God, yeah. So yeah, it's a fully draftable set. So the theories of people's sort of theories on the heroes for this are obviously brute. So because we've seen, what was it, Cox, the deathmatch master or whatever in the Smashing Performance.
Yep.
Yeah, Cox deathmatch fight master. So that's a speculation. Do we see Cox in this?
I think we see Cox, but I don't think he'll be a hero. I think Cox is like the announcer, you know, like the welcome to the death match. And so I think we'll see Cox as the announcer doing the proceedings. I don't think he'll be one of the heroes. I think all the heroes will be like gladiators. I think my guess is all the heroes will be participants in the death match. I feel that Greiner is likely to be one of them. Like we'll get like a new souped up version of Greiner, and I think we'll also get 2 others. I'm guessing this is another 3 hero set, and I'm also guessing this is a all physical set, no arcane damage, based on the theme, but also based on the name Heavy Hitters. I would guess. My guess is brute Warrior, and Guardian, the big 3 heavy hitter classes. And I don't think it'll be like a Dorinthia, like, haha, 3 damage sword warrior. I think it's going to be like you have a battle axe or a maul or a halberd or something like that type of warrior where you just smash them with a giant weapon. That's what I think.
Yeah, I wonder if like the spill blood and felling swings and all these have crept up in price as a result of this. Probably not, but that sort of gives you the impression that if it was a warrior, it would be the big axes and stuff that we have seen. We've seen the merciless battle axe.
They've been building up to it,
Dynasty.
Man. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, so maybe this is going to be. Maybe even a warrior that cares about actually attack actions, because we haven't seen a warrior yet that cares about attack actions. It's all just weapon, isn't it? Most of the time.
Maybe.
So maybe it's a completely different take on warrior. Who knows? But
possibly. I think that's definitely a possibility. I think they could also go like lean hard into the weapon mechanic, and so like I'm trying to think about this from a design point of a draftable set with 3 physical damage classes that all kind of care about weapons, but maybe one of them cares about weapons more than the others. So like kind of how like if you think about Bright Lights having 3 archetypes, right? You have your item archetype, you have your Evo archetype, and then you have your boost hyperdriver archetype. This set could have like, maybe a weapon archetype, armor archetype, and then like a attack action archetype or something like that, where all the decks can run all the cards and still be fine, but at the same time you could also do something like maybe one character cares about it more than the others, or something to that effect.
Yeah. And also, maybe this is a set which brings back dual classes as well. Yeah. Imagine that. Like warrior brute or something like that.
Brute warrior. That's kind of redundant, but I guess
Brute warrior, heavy hitters, and guardian warrior.
Yeah. Guardian brute. I mean, guardian brute sounds pretty gnarly.
Yeah, it does. Jeez. Oh God.
Big chungus.
But absolutely big chungus is all over the place.
Yeah, I do really think. I would be surprised if Brute is not in the set. In fact, if Brute's not in the set, that would be the biggest upset in the Flesh and Blood community. That would be so funny. It would be the biggest troll ever if there was no Brutes at all in heavy hitters. I know some people see it and they're like, "Oh, it's the Brute set." I don't want to get people's hopes up. I do not think this is an all Brute set. It could be. That would be the ballsiest thing I've ever seen a card game do. If they did all mech set and then immediately after all Brute set. That is brave. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Like from a financial standpoint, that's brave as hell. That would be a way to like 2 sets in a row where like 90% of your audience doesn't care about the core of the set. Seems bad in me.
Yeah, I mean, it could still be part of the. It's the same financial year, so it could be part of the course correction arc where they're still trying to fill out the brute support and the brute nation as well. Perhaps. I
mean, I know brute is not one of the top contender classes, but brute has had a decent amount of support. So they've had support. They've had support in all of the supplemental sets, but every class has except for assassin and illusionist, because those are the ones that were added on later. They've had Welcome to Wraith as a main set. They've had Monarch as a main set, and then they also had recently Dust Till Dawn. So they got a lot of. I mean, they might not like the support, but they did get the support.
We got some.
Yeah, they did have a full set. Like, yeah. So,
it doesn't seem likely for it to be just brutes though, because if you look at the actual key art, there's humanoids in there.
Oh yeah,
you can't really see.
We didn't talk about this actually. You can't see it on mobile, but on the PC, when you are looking at the world premiere website, there's actually these very Roman pillars on the side with like it has like, it's very, very Roman, right? It's got like the marble, the white coloring, and then like a red like drape kind of flag thing on it. Super, super Roman Colosseum vibes. And then it has like an old man, like a bearded dude on it. And I'm not talking like a a bearded Reinar. I'm talking to be like an actual just human bearded dude. So
yeah, like holding up a cauldron almost, like a big like a brazier.
Yeah,
or something like that.
I imagine like there'd be fire or something coming out of it, or something like that.
Yeah.
So
it gives you the vibe that obviously this could be in the Savage Lands, but it might not be in the Savage Lands. It could be on the outskirts or something. I don't know whether anybody has had a look at the actual map of Wraith.
Yes.
And maybe
I had a theory in my conspiracy theory video where it was. There's a couple places on the map where it looks like there's like a circular thing that the death match could be. Oh, let me look it up. I'm going to try to find the Flesh and Blood map here. You can literally just type in FAB TCG map. This is a kind of an older map, but there's a couple places. So they are in the Savage Lands. There's one place in the Savage Lands where there's like a clearing, and it's not super big, which I don't imagine it would be that big because it's just a single Coliseum. But it looks like on the map, it looks kind of like a ziggurat or some sort of like temple structure, and that could definitely be where the Coliseum is. It's kind of like,
I see.
It's not like super deep into the Savage Lands. It's kind of like right on the edge, which would make sense if it's more like a mixture of like the Savage Lands brute stuff, but also like you get like some Solanian influence and maybe even some Volcorian influence, because it's kind of like more on like the Volcor side.
If you triangulate Solana, Savage Lands, and Volcor, it is basically just off center of those three regions.
Yep, that's exactly what I'm alluding to. Yeah, that one right there.
Exactly. Yeah, I know what you mean. Because there's like on the map, there's like a tiny little symbol almost in that forest clearing, isn't there? It's not like a prominent piece of art. You know, like the beast is next to it on the left and what have you. It's just like this little symbol. So it's not really giving anything away. It's just saying this is like a landmark or a symbol of some description.
Yeah, it looks like there's definitely some sort of structure, but it's the same. I will point this out too, looking at the map. It is the same symbol. If you go look up at metrics and the pits, the same symbol they use to denote like settlements, right? So the same symbol is right above the words metrics. It's the same symbol right above the pits. So I think it is definitely denoting that there was some sort of like settlement structure in this spot in the Savage Land. So that's my bet. That's where I think this is taking place. That's just my educated guess.
I think that's probably correct, because obviously if you triangulate all of them, that could be in the Savage Lands to a certain degree, but still populated by folk other than just the brute folk.
Yep.
But then if you look in the top left corner, the top left corner of the Savage Lands, there's like this whole elephant graveyard vibe going on, which could be the necromancer section where the shamans are and all this.
And we could get like 3 heroes from, the Savage Lands, but we could also get like maybe the Guardian hails from Solana, maybe the Warrior hails from Volcor, and then the Brute is obviously the Brute. I think that could be cool, and that also give a little bit of variance here. And to be completely honest, after the last 2 sets, I would love more like variance. I don't get me wrong, I like all the mech stuff, and the bright lights. The Dusk Till Dawn was pretty cool too, but like it felt like a lot of the same stuff. So having like a set with like 3 really distinct heroes, like new heroes, would be really cool, because like I said, Dusk Till Dawn had like new heroes, but like Prism is just a redo of a hero that already exists, and Vincent is like cool, but she is just basically like a new chain, right? So we just got like chain replacement, Prism replacement, kind of new, but mechanically still kind of, but it still felt very similar. And then in Bright Lights, obviously, it's three mechs, so getting some like flavor mix ups and stuff would be cool again. Yeah,
and it explains the border being different as well. The fact that it's not Savage Lands border, it's not Volcor border, and it's not Solana border. It's like it could be if you take all of those regions and mash them into one, it probably would look something like this. It's still sort of quite quite visceral. It's got this sort of royal sort of theme to it with the red cape and all this, and it's still also weaponry Solanian to a certain degree as well, with the gold and stuff as well.
Interesting. I'm just noticing, looking at the art, like the splash art for it, there's a couple people that are huge, like just giants. So like if you look at the art, I'm not going to pull it up here. You can already see kind of what I'm talking about if you're watching it.
It's in the gateway, isn't it? In the gateway. Yeah,
there's like two people that are like 12 foot tall. Like they're huge. They're massive compared to the other people. They could be even bigger than that, depending on the like how far back they are, because you can see all the other people for scale. And some of the people definitely look like they're from Solana. They're like literally knights in plate armor with like red capes. They look like they could be like part of Dorinthia's attachment or something like that.
Or just literally a completely separate settlement that's sort of outlawed from every single one of them, and they have their own thing going on. But
I'm just saying they look like they could be from Solana, or at least that's
the style. Well, they're just legionnaires, aren't they? Yeah, just legionnaires basically. But those big those big figures could even be something like half human, half brute, because they're large humans. Or large humanoid things rather than brutes.
Interesting.
Which also is the same theory of being on the cusp of all of those lands rather than being in the center of it, basically. This is all just speculation and absolute lore that I haven't actually seen be discussed at all yet on the interwebs. So this is a good one today. All of this being said, this also ties in with the celebrational. Which is cool, because the graphic for this is the Tales of Aria, the This Round's on Me art, and it says celebrational, meet your community heroes. And the blurb for this is, every single one of you brings something different to the table. So again, LSS recognizing the creators and the personalities in the game. And to show how proud we are of our community and to acknowledge Flesh and Blood entering its 5th year, we are hosting a special celebrational. And we have put together a truly exceptional guest list of esteemed FAB celebrities and local community superstars who will join us in Queenstown in honor of the countless ways people contribute and bring amazing energy to the international Flesh and Blood family. So what does that say to you, do you think, that whole statement?
So this is something that James White alluded to a long time ago, that he has always wanted. He called it then an invitational. I like this celebrational more, where it's, I think essentially what they're going to be doing is they're going to be inviting a lot of personalities that are known in the Flesh and Blood community. The people that I imagine that are at the top of my list would be people like the Professor, probably Rudy, and then like prominent content creators, maybe some pro players, some casters, like people that you would recognize if you are into Flesh and Blood. That's what I would imagine. And then they say some local superstars. They didn't come out and say it, but I'm pretty sure that means like the devs and that kind of stuff. Like when I hear local superstars, I'm thinking like James White and all the people who work at Legend Store Studios. Hopefully we can see like some of the people that I mentioned who don't often get in the spotlight, like Robbie Wen and MJ, Sam Yang. Hopefully they get some artists. I would definitely want to see a bunch of artists there. That's what I think. And I think the celebrational isn't really going to be, I don't think it's a tournament, because I think they're going to be, like I said, inviting people like the Professor, some people who don't play competitive Flesh and Blood, like Rudy and the Professor are likely going to be invited, likely going to be there depending on if they can make it or not. But I don't think they're going to be participating in any like competitive events.
No.
So I think it's got to be more of like just a hangout, relax, maybe play some casual games, maybe do some cool events. I imagine they'll do crazy stuff like here's an alpha draft or that kind of thing. Alpha draft with James White or whatever. And it says
the vibe.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say the vibe that I get from this statement is you've been to the World's player reception, right?
Yeah.
I think it's going to be similar to a player reception, but they're gonna give content creators the ability to go there for free, because normally you would have to pay to get into a player reception if if you weren't part of the world's roster or you hadn't qualified, you'd have to pay to get in. But I think this is going to be reverse, where if you're a creator or someone they deem as a influential figure in the space, you can go there for free. But then anybody who's not invited has to pay to get in. So it's like a reverse thing. I reckon that's what they're going to do.
My very selfish hope is that they just pay the people, the special guests, just like to go, like pay for their travel and like their like their room or whatever. Otherwise, like, why would they be a special guest if they weren't, hosting you to some degree? And I will say this now.
Yeah.
I have no idea if they're inviting me at all. I have not gotten any word. I have no idea.
And this is why
I was telling.
This is why.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. This is why I think my theory is probably the most accurate, because if they would have, because you are one of the biggest, well, the biggest Flesh and Blood creator alongside DM Armada, and you haven't heard about it yet.
Well,
so
I think that. Here's the other thing, though. I think they wanted to announce it, and then over the next week or so, they're going to be doing the invites, like sending the invites, and then
maybe, yeah.
And then they'll announce who said yes at Barcelona, which is when they said they're going to announce who the guest list is going to be they're announcing it at Barcelona.
That's right, yeah. So the next part of the article says that they're going to be announcing it at Barcelona. That's right. So maybe that is the case. And maybe they're putting out the feelers now, sending out the invites, and then once they know the list of who's confirmed, they'll read out the list at the player reception in Barca.
That's what. Ooh, my power. Ooh, oh no. Oh no. It's bizarre, dude. Wow. Hello, my lights are still out. The air conditioner's not on. Hold on, I'm gonna take off the headset. I'm gonna try to turn on the lights.
No, the lights. So basically, the powers went off in Portland, Oregon, right now, which is really strange. So the image that you can see, I believe, are his laptop lights that are just flashing around there. But yeah, it's just happened. Loads of stuff has happened this week. Our first podcast was lost to the aether. Kel's dog had a bit of an emergency, and now we're having a power cut. It's like the gods don't want us to speak about Flesh and Blood this week, but we will, and we will get it out there. But this is just a very strange turn of events, really. A series of unfortunate events here in the Living Legends podcast studio this week. But we will carry on. We will do this. But I can still see Kel's fantastic room there. Look at that. Just an absolute studio that you all know and love when you watch Talking Head videos on Red Zone Rogue. But yeah, I'm okay. You can see the flashing lights here in sunny Swindon in the United Kingdom. And we were just literally speaking about the player reception at Barcelona being the place where they're going to announce the special guests for the Queenstown event. So it's going to be interesting to see who gets invites and what that invite means for that person. And I went into a bit of a FOMO and fear of missing out video, and that you shouldn't really take it too much to heart if you can't get to New Zealand, because New Zealand's a long way away. Let's be honest, it's a long way away. I don't know whether I'm going to be able to go, especially after just getting back from Barcelona. And we're back.
Oh, hello again.
And we are back.
My God, dude. Just a little wild. So
are we still recording, are we?
Yeah, I stopped recording when the power initially went out. Then I went to go check on things, and I found that the lights worked in some rooms and not the others. After the power came back here. And so what I think had happened is when the initial power went out, it threw the circuit breaker, and I needed to go. This is my first time using the circuit breaker at this place. So I went through and I tried to figure out what was on, what was off, managed to turn them all back on.
Jeez.
Accidentally turned some things off, which is why you lost connection with me again, because I turned the living room off, which has the Wi-Fi.
The router, yeah. Oh, that's hilarious.
But here we are.
Here we are again.
Here we are.
Back in the light. I was doing all these comparisons to how, I'm in the light and you're in the shadow and all this. So
Yep.
Oh,
yep.
my God.
It's wild. I'll leave that part in. I'll leave it. I'll leave it.
Oh yeah, the Azz Ramble Part 2.
Yeah, dude.
Brilliant.
So yeah, I don't remember what we're talking about. We're talking about like heavy hitters or something. No.
Something along with heavy hitters.
No, we were talking about the celebrational, I think. Yeah. That's
right. Yeah, I don't know how much you caught, but obviously we were speaking about celebrational and how the invitees or accepted guest list is going to be revealed at Barcelona. And I was saying that for people that aren't in Barcelona or whatever, there's always going to be someone there that's going to be recording it or streaming it. I imagine there's always someone that's broadcast live. So
yeah, and so if people didn't know, I will very much likely not be able to make Barcelona. I'm very not happy about it. Something we've talked about on the podcast before, but I still think a lot of people don't know because I mentioned it on Twitter, and people, I got a lot of responses. People are like, "Oh no!" I will very much likely not be able to go. I sent out my application for a replacement birth certificate just a little while ago, so hopefully I'll get that back, and then I'll have to send that to the State Department, and then that will hopefully get my passport situation all fixed just in time to see if I can go to New Zealand in January when this is actually happening.
Hopefully so. Yeah. It's going to be a big event, a once in a lifetime thing, I imagine, to be part of it for the first time, similar to how Pro Tour New Jersey was. Really, that was the first ever Pro Tour, so it was quite special. And this is probably the first ever celebrational as well.
I think it's going to be bigger than that because it's 2 days separate from the other stuff. So it's like 2 days of just the celebrational. So it says it will take place January 17th to 18th, right before the world premiere and calling. So it actually happens before the calling and the world premiere event for heavy hitters. So they're having world premiere event for heavy hitters, a calling, and then the celebrational is like separate from that.
Okay. So there's 2 days of celebrational and then the rest of the event, basically.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
So I think it's going to be like a big thing that they want to do. So for folks like me who aren't able to make it to Worlds, I think this is probably like the next best thing, or maybe even like bigger because it is like the first of its kind,
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that turns out and who the guests are and all this sort of stuff, and how they're sort of handling that, and what the celebrational even is. What is it? Is it a battle between community members? Is it a tournament for community members is it going to be showcased and all this?
It will be streamed. So they do say the event will be streamed. If you're not able to make it, it will be streamed. So specifically it says this prestigious event will be live streamed for all the dedicated fans who can't make it in person. I think it will be a lot of things. I think there'll definitely be some Flesh and Blood being played there, but I think a lot of people there's going to be a decent number of people who are invited who don't really play all that much.
Yeah, that's right.
So I think it'll be some of like a social thing. There might be a cosplay contest. I imagine a lot of stuff. Yeah, that's what I'm picturing.
Yeah, exactly. And it's going to be interesting to see how that turns out. I mean, I did a tweet about it the other day, and James himself did like it. And my tweet quote was, Commentator 1 says, the only contestant in this death match to drink from his shoe while playing is Azz from the UK. Commentator 2 says, I don't think Azz has a chance in this matchup, but who doesn't love an underdog story? Commentator 1 says, chaos and zero fucks can be a powerful ally. So it was hinting at a scene where I was playing Flesh and Blood as a result of being at this celebrational, and James liked that tweet. So maybe that's like a bit of foreshadowing that there is going to be some interplay between content creators that could be showcased, which would be hilarious, by the way. Even if it was like content creators take on pro players, similar to how the Goliath Gauntlet that Flake did on 983 Media panned out. It was a couple of content creators in there, a couple of personalities in there that were all sort of well known, that were all sort of playing each other and surprising us as well to a certain degree.
I was in that. I was in the first one. I lost. I lost round one. I played a meme deck, and I played against DM Armada round one, and we're both supposed to play meme decks, and he comes in with like this baller Dromai deck and just destroys me. I'm playing no, not even Hanabi Blaster. I'm playing like the shotgun dash, like the bad
shotgun dash.
The bad shotgun from Crew. That's the deck that I brought because I was like, okay, you're gonna bring a meme deck. I'll bring a meme deck. We'll just have some fun. And then he like proceeds to tumultie me on like turn 2 or something and just absolutely dumpster. And I did not get invited back to the second one, probably because I got destroyed so hard.
Yeah, that's funny. Brilliant. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that turns out and what is going on, and who can get there and all this. But don't beat yourself up if you can't go, because it is a long way. Is a long way to go for a lot of people. If you're in the right area, then fair enough, you're in the right area. But if you're not, there is a long way to go. I speak from the Europe, UK side of it because it's probably the longest journey you can potentially make from that part of the world.
That was me prepping for Barcelona. Like I can't imagine going much further than that unless I was going to like, I don't know, Finland or something. That's not not much further that you could go that isn't just the literal opposite side of the world, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's not the trip that's the issue. It's the fact that a lot of people that have booked to go to Barcelona now have to think about this 2 months later, which also Christmas is in between that as well, right? So that's more money that you have to put somewhere. Well, so you've got
hopefully, I'm sorry to cut you off. Hopefully for content creators, like I said, since this is like a celebrational, hopefully they're going to be paying for us to be there if we're invited, of course. Hopefully,
that'll be interesting to see what happens with that, but no expectation. Especially for me anyway. I have no expectation for me, like, but
my thoughts behind it are like, why would you be a special guest if they didn't pay for it? What I'm getting at is like anyone could just show up and pay to be there. Like, so like there has to be like a reason that you're invited other than just having your name on the billing, I guess. Like,
Well, it's exciting nonetheless, and obviously we'll find out about it very, very soon. But that was a really, really awesome article to come out. It's just funny how like we've literally just opened Bright Lights and suddenly heavy hitters. Here we go. It's just like a constant, perpetual hype machine at this point, which is great.
As a content creator, I want more because there's a lot of times where there's like just a lull in Flesh and Blood. And I think going to 4 sets a year will help with that quite a bit. I don't want as much as Magic. Don't get me wrong. I don't want like literally a new set or something dropping every 2 weeks, but every like 3 months, sure, yeah, I'd be happy with that. Instead
absolutely.
of like every 4 months. And if it's every 4 months and the last set was like Bright Lights and you don't really care that much about it, I like Bright Lights, by the way. But I'm just saying, it helps keep people who are interested in your thing engaged. But you don't want to fatigue them out like Magic does.
No, exactly. Definitely. But looking forward to seeing how that pans out and what that set's all about. Obviously, we'll get drip fed more information as time goes on. But with regards to a nice little comment that we had this week, Ryan's actually posted before. This individual is quite interested for a round the table product which Living Legends is a part of.
Oh yeah.
So Ryan says, hey, if it's a yearly round the table product, which was confirmed recently, that means RTT Living Legends is only a matter of time. I hope so too, Ryan. I hope so too.
Hey, you know what? Yeah, I would love that. I wouldn't love anything more than that, to be honest. Do I think it's gonna happen? No, because I'm realistic.
Yeah, exactly.
I made the joke in my round the table review that I was like, people are gonna ask for when's the Red Zone Rogue round the table? When's the Living Legends round the table? And I said, as much as I would love that, I'm not famous or popular enough for them to do that. But hey, you know what? You could all like the video and subscribe, and maybe someday we can be. Way.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, but if they do another one, I maybe this is just being cynical, but I wholeheartedly think they're gonna end up picking not Flesh and Blood content creators because we're not popular enough, and they'll pick like Command Zone or something. Which makes sense marketing wise, people with a bigger audience, people with a non Flesh and Blood audience, so they can draw more people in. Why would they want to market to people who already buy their stuff?
And exactly. I think it's another thing that you said on the last podcast that was lost was that the people that know about Flesh and Blood from a competitive standpoint have already chosen whether or not to play this game for that purpose already.
Right.
So what the game needs to do is what you said last time was casual, cater to that casual Commander player that's playing Commander every week or whatever. We have to try and bring those in, basically.
Yeah, basically my thoughts are, if you are a competitive card game player, you already know Flesh and Blood exists, and you've already made your decision whether you're playing it or not. Like, there's no, obviously we know that LSV knows about Flesh and Blood, but if you're like Paulo Vitor, Damaderosa, you know that Flesh and Blood exists, and you've already decided if you're playing Flesh and Blood or if you're just going to keep playing Magic. And if you're like a random Yu-Gi-Oh pro, you probably same situation, right? But
exactly,
some random, group of Commander players probably only care about like Commander and casual stuff, and they have no idea what's going on in any competitive scene. And so like Flesh and Blood and other card games are just kind of like not on their roster. So those are the people that should be, well, it's smart. I don't know if they should be. Those are the people that it's smart to market towards, because those are the people who you want to have, look at your game.
Those are the people that will stick around for not the meta, but for the characters and the heroes and stuff that come out, and they build decks around those to maybe fight their friends with in a multiplayer scenario, or take into the PvE side of things every now and again. So we do need to start catering to those people more. I talk a lot about non-Flesh and Blood stuff on Red Zone Rogue, and one of the things that comes up every now and again is like what I believe needs to exist in a card game for it to be truly successful. And one of those things is you need people to care about your characters. I don't care how technically good the card game is. I do, but or like how much money you're giving out for your prizing. To get like truly dedicated fans who will be here for many, many years, you need people to actually care about your world and your characters. And I mentioned this in my Grand Archive Ascent Houston recap. People were upset when the Merlin playmat sold out, and I think that was a really, really good sign. It sucks for the people who weren't able to get the Merlin playmat. I did not get one. But it shows that people genuinely care about the characters, because they were upset that they couldn't get a thing of a character that they love. And that is a really, really good sign for any card game, because it shows that people care about it beyond winning prizes and beyond the gameplay. It shows that they genuinely have an emotional attachment, and they just want to play in that world,
or just
they just want to play in that world,
collect the thing or read the lore, or interact with it however they want to interact with it. But I think Flesh and Blood does a good job of that, and getting more people in at that level is what is really, really going to grow Flesh and Blood beyond what it already is doing.
Exactly. And this sort of goes on to one of the last bits of today's podcast, which is the email that we received this week. So if you've got a thought, comment, question, or a longer story or longer concern or whatever, email us at the Living Legends Podcast at gmail.com, and we'll answer those. We prioritize the emails basically, but then we'll still choose comments here and there to read out, which we enjoy.
Yeah.
So the main sort of concern from Mustache Woo, he goes by on Discord, is saying, I was hesitant to jump into UPF because I'm not a huge fan of politics or backstabbing. I did enjoy playing Melody, but because it was for a prize, it was a prize for a mat and the box. So that's the main thing I think we're going to speak about. Everyone ganged up on me, and I didn't have a chance to combo off the final act. I'm not upset since it's nothing personal, but it does give me an impression that people would rather want to win than have fun. So I think there's a reason why these people that you were playing with wanted to win. And why is that?
Well, yeah, it's because that they had a prize available for a casual event, which
exactly.
I do not think is a good idea if you want your event to be a casual event, because having prizing and reasons for people to win outside of just winning incentivizes people to spike it and get sweaty. Instead of just having fun with it. And I talked about this in the Lost episode. It's the reason why when I held a Grand Archive starter deck event. I don't want to call it a tournament because it wasn't. It was an event where people would bring starter decks, unmodified starter decks, and you would play 3 rounds. And I do not care how much you won. In fact, you didn't report your wins at all. All you do is you play as many games as you can in the time limit. Each round was an hour. I don't care how many games you play, just as many as you can in the time limit. And everyone who played all 3 rounds got prizing, period. Not only did you get prizing, but you also entered in to get more prizing. So everyone had a base level prize packs and the event packs. And then everyone who was still there was eligible to get playmats, a deck box, more packs. And we just did a random raffle at the end. And that encouraged people to help new players learn how to play, because the objective isn't to win and spike it and dumpster all the noobs. The objective is to learn how to play, teach people how to play, and just have like a fun time. And I had people in the event who played, and this was like it capped out. I had 40 people, 40 slots, capped out. It was also a lot. If I do this again, and I probably will, I'm not going to do 40 people. Is too much for me to manage by myself, because I ran the whole thing by myself. It just there are people who played in the event who already knew how to play, and they were just there to have fun and to teach new players. And I left it very open. It's like, hey, if neither of you know how to play or whatever, just let me know, and I can help you out or whatever. And so, but the point is I don't think you should have competitive prizing for casual level events. That's what it boils down to. Don't have competitive prizing for casual level events. What they should have done is they should have just, if they had a playmat available, raffle off the playmat at the end. That's it. Maybe everyone gets an entry prize. Everyone gets a couple packs or whatever, and then the playmat is raffled off. If you want to give the first place winner something, sure, give them something, but you should give everyone else something as well. And then also, I think you should, you could lean into more like community prizing too, like a community champion, someone who like champions the format, champions the game, helps get people into it. It's just really nice, or whatever reason, you can do that sort of pricing as well. And I think all of this stuff is like pretty laid out in the rules. I don't know, it's not really rules in the casual play kit,
casual play thing. Yeah,
document. It kind of says a lot of this kind of stuff too. So I think your LGS is just didn't do it well. It's what I would say. Not how I would do it for sure.
No, UPF is supposed to be like a social palate cleanser. It's not supposed to be something that's tied to a prize, because that will water down the experience, because people then want to play for something other than just the experience. They want to play for the prize rather than the actual good times. So then you won't have the good times because you're trying to win something. It's just completely not the way to do it. So hopefully, if you take that suggestion to the LGS and just play casual, if you're going to play a casual event, just do like a random raffle for the participants, like Kel did for the Grand Archive participants. Much better way of doing it. But yeah, that is pretty much it. Before we wrap up today, do you have any Arsenal steps? Anything else going on before we wrap up today?
I've been playing a lot. I mean, outside of other card games, I've been playing a lot of video games recently and getting back into it. And actually, since the Lost episode, I've been considering playing some more spooky horror games. For October, I made a playlist of music that I just called Hello Darkness. It's got a bunch of just goth rock and spooky themed music.
Nice.
Some of it's like not exactly spooky. I wouldn't call like Sisters of Mercy spooky. It's just good old dark goth rock. But the two games that I played recently that were really, really good is the DLC for Resident Evil 4, the Separate Ways with Ada Wong. Very, very good. It's only $10. Yeah. It's only $10, and it's just like you get a good like 8 hours, maybe 6 to 8 hours of it. Just really, really quality stuff. And also Ada is just like perfect. And then I've been playing Cyberpunk 2077, the Phantom Liberty DLC. It's a little more expensive. It's $30, but it is really, really good. I'm a huge fan of Cyberpunk. I actually have played the tabletop RPG Cyberpunk Red. I think that's really fun. I really like Cyberpunk 2077. I even played it when it was like not great, and now I think it's very, very good. It plays really well. I really like the new talent trees, and they've overhauled a lot of stuff, and I think it's just really, really solid and really, really fun. So if you have not played Cyberpunk 2077, I recommend it. If you had played it before and you had a bad experience, I recommend trying it again. It is much less janky, and it's just very, very solid. It feels like an incredible game now. Like it's one of those things where a game comes out like No Man's Sky and it's just like garbage at launch, and then you wait like 3 years and it turns out it's really good now. And I think Cyberpunk is really good now. And the DLC has like Idris Elba in it, and he's great, and it's cool.
Oh,
it's a cool story. Songbird is also just like she's awesome. So you can tell I have they're similar type characters. You can tell I have like kind of a type.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, good stuff. And there's some other like video games I've been kind of like thinking about getting into. I'm probably going to try to finish up Fatal Frame and get the remake of the Fatal Frame, Maiden of Black Water for PS5. Some spooky stuff, and some 8-bit style or 16-bit style, 32-bit, Super Nintendo style JRPGs that I'm also kind of looking at too, like Sea of Stars and Chained.
Yeah, I've been looking at that too. Sea of Stars,
Chained Echoes or Chained Memories. This is one that came out last year that some friends said it was super, super good. I played the demo for for Sea of Stars. The demo for Sea of Stars was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then another shout out to another tiny game that might suit a lot of other folks' interests here, but I really like old Might and Magic games. Not Heroes of Might and Magic. The original Might and Magic, like first person, like open world, kind of like this old school dungeon crawlery stuff. Love it. Absolutely love it. They're very reminiscent of old like Elder Scrolls, like Daggerfall or something like that. And so there's a new game that came out, small little indie game called Isles of the Caliph, which is similar style, like retro pixel art. It's kind of like Middle Eastern, like Islamic mythology inspired kind of stuff. Not themes that I'm very familiar with, which fascinates me, honestly, just like as a person. So like there's all these things that I'm not familiar with. So it just feels like fresh and interesting to me. And it's like this kind of old school game. So that's what I've been up to outside of card games. How about you, Az? Anything?
Oh yeah, I love pixel art games as well. And there's another one that's coming out, I think at this maybe Q1 called Sandwalkers, which is like a roguelite strategy game, which looks pretty cool. It's hard to explain, but I just love roguelites that have the pixel art. I think it's called Sandwalkers.
Oh, I have seen. Okay, it's like it's got like a hex grid.
Yeah. And then you go through it and you explore it like a fog of war style thing, and there's like encounters and enemies and base building and resource management and all this.
Oh,
so
interesting. It reminds me of like an early Civilization. Like it looks like an early Civ game. Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely love. I used to spend so much time on like strategy games and war games and stuff, but I just love that when they encapsulate the roguelite element and the random encounters and stuff. Just like a board. It's just like a board game, really. And that's another thing I'm going to be doing this month is finally getting an old game group together to play Eldritch Horror, which is like a Arkham Horror style game, board game.
Nice.
And I'm going to be recording it all as well, so I'm going to see how that goes. But I haven't played it in ages, and I can't wait to play it again because it's just like a nice little game you get out for Halloween, basically. So it's like Cthulhu and all this sort of stuff, which I'm massive on at the moment. So
Robin and I play not that one in particular, but we do play Mansions of Madness.
LCG.
Oh, well, LCG too.
Yeah.
LCG is great too, but Mansions of Madness is like the board game one that we play that is also kind of like roguelite, that has like sort of procedural room generation. It's really fun, and you could definitely play it with two people. I'd love to play that as well, but I just haven't had the time to, because I haven't come visit Portland, man. You can play with Robin and I. Just fly all the way over here to play. I just had a good idea.
Madness.
I just had a good idea. But yes, come over here to play Mansions of Madness. My idea, by the way, is if you do end up getting invited to the celebrational and you do end up going, you know what is kind of a pit stop on the way to New Zealand would be Portland. And you could maybe pit stop in Portland for a couple days, and then you and I could fly to New Zealand together because it's kind of on the way, depending on which way you go. So just saying.
Yeah. Well,
just saying.
Yeah, I think there are ways to make flights cheaper if you separate them to different places. Well, that could be an option.
And also, it's not you flying like 20 hours all at once. It's you flying to here, chilling for a couple days, and then you and I both flying to New Zealand together. So it's more of like it's less of you just being exhausted on a plane for like 20 hours or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Which I am happy to do. You know, if I can get the resource, if I've got the resources and the time off and all this, I could do that. I could do a 35-hour trip and then just turn up at the celebration, or just completely jet lagged, but with drinks down me, it'd be absolutely fine. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But Halloween is a nice time to get out, like the Cthulhu games and all the weird Lovecraftian stuff.
It's also not something I talk about ever, but I'm actually a huge fan of the Civilization games. That's another thing that Robin and I play a lot of. We don't really play a ton of games together because she's very particular about the games that she plays. But Civ, both Civ 5 and Civ 6, those are games that she and I play together quite often. And we'll just do like we'll just start a new map and just play. We collude obviously against the bots. So like we don't like go to war against each other, like physical war, but you know, I like to do cultural victories. So, you know, I'm going to try to persuade her culture, and she'll try to like, you know, make all of my cities her religion, and you know, all that kind of good stuff. But it's just fun. It's just good times. I'm a big fan of Civ. Yeah.
I've never played it, but I didn't realize it's a 2-player game.
Oh, you can play with like a lot of people. You can play with a ton of people.
Okay.
You can, so like it's a game that we like to start an ancient world, your settlement, and then you can like expand, you make new cities, you can develop wonders, so you can like make the pyramids. Only one person can have each wonder. So like the first person who makes the pyramids, or the only person who gets the pyramids, for example. All throughout history. And then there's multiple ways to win. You can win through a political victory where you basically vote, the world powers vote to make you the winner. Good luck with that. To win with that way, you basically need to have a lot of allies with the city states and stuff. You can win through war victory by just destroying everyone. You can win through culture victory by having your culture that's the dominant culture on the planet. Science victory, or just points at the end. So there's a lot of ways to play, a lot of ways to just win. It's just, I could talk about Civ a lot. I'm a huge fan. I prefer
I like those games where you have multiple ways to win, though. I do like that because I used to play a lot of the Total War games.
Yeah.
And those had similar victory conditions as well. You can either conquer everything or convert everybody to your whatever it was, or lots of different ways to win. You can approach it in different ways.
You can have a religious victory too. Yeah, there's like a ton of different ways to win. I typically go for science or culture. Those are the two victory conditions that I typically do, or just points. I like to build a lot of wonders. I like to start it as Egypt or Morocco. Oh, there's a lot of ones. Byzantium. Yeah, I play a lot of Civ. I think Civ 5 is my favorite. It's a little bit older, but it's just so robust, and you can get it for pretty cheap with everything these days. Civ 6 is pretty good too, but I'm a big fan of Civ 5. So yeah, that's our video game corner for
video game Arsenal Step Corner.
Yeah.
But pretty much wraps it up for this week's Living Legend podcast. We got there in the end. We are still recording, right? We are. Our bars are going and all this.
Well, should be good as long as like the power going out didn't like fry my mic or something, and I'm not realizing it until I play it back. Well, we'll see. We'll see.
It reverted it to the old laptop state, which wasn't working in the first place.
No, it should be good. It should be good. At least the first half, the first like chunk was really good. Like when the power went out, I was able to like listen back to it. I was like, oh, at least that worked.
Yeah. Hopefully there's an Azz ramble in there as well, because people liked that last time.
I'm leaving it in. You've already listened to it by now.
Yeah. But
or maybe I'll put it at the end. I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see how it flows. But without further ado, we need to get this episode out as well. So I'm going to obviously allow you to do that. So we can crack on. I got work tomorrow as well, so it's quite late, and so I have to chip. But thanks everybody who's tuned in today. It's been a pleasure. We got there in the end. Sorry, Bill, that you couldn't make it today, but I hope you're having a good time playing Commander with the Spike Feeders. So go and check out the Spike Feeders.
I've been seeing stuff on Twitter. Like people are tweeting out their like little spike feeder, custom little spike feeder. I saw Surge from a Loading Ready Run, and I saw Krim, Asian Avenger, with their own little custom spike feeders. And I'm just sitting here, I'm like, bro, where's our custom spike feeders? Azz and I need.
Yeah, come on now.
We need one with like a mullet, and then one with whatever I'm.
They're like proper custom spikes.
Kind of, yeah. Right, so like the Loading Ready Run one is like blue, and it's got the little arrow for Loading Ready Run. But the Krim one I noticed has like piercings, and like half the spikes are like the color of his hair or whatever. So yeah, I was like, hey, you know what? When you and I go and visit, maybe next year, maybe we'll get our own little custom spikes. You know,
we'll definitely be getting something from them. That's for sure.
Yeah,
but yeah, no. Without further ado,
drinking all their booze and then passing out, and underneath the spike feeder game room table or whatever. invited the American and the Brit over, and we just get wasted and vomit and pass out.
Absolute chaos.
Just two absolute degenerates. Like
it needs to be done.
Yeah.
Canada would have never seen anything like it.
Yep. Hey, I can drink, man. I haven't in a very long time, but yeah. Hey, you know, I'm not. I won't be at Worlds, but maybe for the celebrational, and then maybe for the Winnipeg Rumble. I've just made
Winnipeg Rumble.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that'd be good times. But yeah. Okay. So I've been the host for today. My name's Azz from Go Again Gaming. You can find me on Go Again Gaming on YouTube and Go Again Gaming AZ on Twitter. Yep. And that's pretty much it. And Red Zone Rogue.
That's me. Hello, I'm Red Zone Rogue. You can find me at Red Zone Rogue everywhere. I'm actually pretty excited for this heavy hitter set. I think it looks really cool. And I'm a big fan of world premiere events. I've been to all of the ones that they've done. They haven't done one for every set, but they did do one for Tales of Aria. I was there, and they did one for Uprising, and I was also there, and they were both really fun. So I hope I can get to the heavy hitters one and the celebrational. I think that'd be super fun. So Look forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be again like a way to play the set before it's out, isn't it? And it's coupled with some very special things. So hopefully we'll get more details on that soon, how that's all going to work. But until next time, we're going to do it all over again with Brian Gottlieb this time, when Bill will be back as well, of course. So
Yep.
Yeah, we'll see you soon. Cheers, folks.
Bye.
Bye-bye. We got there in the end. Over a power cut, a bloody miss audio situation, and a trip to the vets. We got there in the end. Lovely old job.
Sometimes, it's a saying in life, and I find it's very true. When it rains, it pours. I generally like the rain, but I don't like drowning.
Yeah.
I don't like drowning, and so sometimes it's relentless, man. Just relentless.
I could see like a 16-bit scene with you, like just with the rain in the background and that, just sipping your vitamin water.
I do have that. I can go make some coffee. It'll make it more in tune. I mean, that sounds like a lovely day to me, right? Cool outside, raining. Smell the fresh air coming in. You get the clean pine air, because we live kind of like near the wilderness. Some coffee.
Yeah. And then you got a board game all over the table.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Speaking my,
or a big massive epic game that you're going to play for the next 4 hours while it's raining. Sounds like a good day to me.
It does.
Yeah.
I might leave that pin in too. I'm still recording.
I knew you were still recording just because of the way you were speaking about it all.
Yeah. Well,
brilliant.
I mean, like, I'm not going to be like go off the rails and start saying,
that's funny.
Things.
Just sounded like we were both ready to ride into the sunset together at the end there.
Hey man, the week has been that way. I'm just ready to.
Exactly.
It's one of those things where I usually, like, for an announcement like Heavy Hitters, I'll just like rush up to the studio and record a thing as soon as possible. But God, like, it's just been rough lately. So it's just like, no energy at all. But
yeah. Well, we got loads of things through on that podcast anyway, so that's all good with regards to that. But yeah, that's good stuff.